Hey guys, Andy here. You guys can put this in frame. So this is my first alternate history reading. This is called A World of Laughter, a World of Tears. This is where Walt Disney became president and turned his country into a fascist state. This has 77 pages, so I might do it's like World After World Tears. This is gonna be like part one, and I might do a part two. Oh, by the way, I just finished filming my Q&A video, so go check that out. So let's do this. A World After World Tears by the user Static Chaos. This was published on January 22nd, 2009. And here's some context. And in the Mickey Mouse Club Alma Mater video, I saw a comment saying that A World After World Tears brought me here. So I decided to look it up. World After World Tears, and this is what led me to the alternatehistory.com website. So this is like the first one I've read. So without that comment, I wouldn't have done this. So yeah, World After World Tears. This is part one. All this effort on part of the Eisenhower's campaign came to a disappointing end 1 month before the beginning of the 1952 Republican Convention. The general suffered a minor heart attack while campaigning in Detroit, Michigan. While the episode never put his life in immediate danger, pre-existing questions regarding his health could not be easily swept under the table anymore. Instead, following the advice from his physicians, General Eisenhower bowed out of the campaign a week before the convention itself, without pledging his delegates to either Taft or Dewey, his two nearest competitors. Dewey was brought up for consideration by the movers and shakers of the party, having shown himself unable to be an unpopular president previously. Yeah, that popular president was FDR. He was seen as damaged goods. Taft, while a more sympathetic character, lacked the sense of charisma for the new media environment. That environment was TV. Also, his anti-communist credentials were not considered powerful enough for the McCarthyite faction. Eisenhower attended the convention with all of his delegates uncommitted. This threw the GOP into turmoil. After 3 ballots, it looked like the tide was turned towards Earl Warren, governor of California. Yeah, mind you, in our timeline, Earl Warren was Chief Justice. Eisenhower's differences with Warren made this state of affairs unacceptable to the general, calling together some of the most influential men of the party behind closed doors. He informed them that he was open to suggestions. So I'll be linking this story here in the description of this video if you guys want me to. So you guys can read it for yourselves. From Supreme Commander, A Life of General Dwight David Eisenhower, McGraw-Hill, 1973. Fact is, I wasn't even supposed to be there. I had paperwork to go through for the committee, and the senator knew how to crack the whip. But he also knew an opening when he saw it. "Here's what I wanted to do, Roy," he said. "No son of a bitch I can be seen with me after his Green Bay speech, since those boys at the Times got a hold of what he wanted to say about my crusade. But that's fine. What I want you to do is go as my personal representative. Let him know that Governor Joe is there in spirit." He winked there. He always did before he pulled me in close, like he was telling me a secret. "Let him know that I still hold the cards at the table." The fumes on his breath nearly made me drunk, but I got the message. That's how I got to meet the general. I have to admit, even after the run-ins we had with him years later, and even though he was just out of the hospital, he was an impressive man. Gravitas. That's the word I want. He sat there at the head of the table, surrounded by people whose names I'm now at liberty to reveal almost 30 years later. I'll say this much. If bomb had gone off in that room, then the GOP would have gone out of existence as a party. Yeah, I think I would have been a great candidate. Well, he won 2 terms after all. Other than the stakes we were playing for, it was like any other political get-together back then. Cigars were passed around, Cuban and plenty of whiskey, the typical assortment of dirty jokes and fishing lies that we all heard dozens of times. Then business. Taps people didn't want Dewey, and Dewey's people didn't want Taft. Neither wanted to warn. After some shouting, we all came to the conclusion that we needed someone new. Well, they came to that conclusion. I sat near the end of the table and recorded my observations. Someone saw me writing and asked me to start taking notes. Well, I figured why not? I didn't have anything to say for once, and I figured there were worse things than playing secretary to my political future. They came up with the ideal candidate, an outsider, like the general, either from the world of military or business. Strategy economist, a well-placed glance from me to one of our allies in the room. Put that at the top of the list. Well-known, successful, able to reach out to a major audience on TV, as well as radio. Smart as a whip, already popular. You know what I'm referring to, right? Walt Disney, one man joked. Now, a lot of people have tried to take credit for that joke over the years, and most of them weren't at the meeting. I don't remember who it was, and even though I know what the Reds and the press have said about me, Mrs. Cohen's little boy is enough of a liar to take credit either. So what if it was a joke at first? But if you've never been in a meeting like that, sometimes people make a joke like that just to test the waters, to pick up steam, and after a while people are discussing the ins and outs of it. Me? How he testified before the HUAC as a friendly witness and named names. Not touch a pink on Walt. Joe was going to be like a pig in slop. That went back and forth. You could see Dewey's obviously giving in, then Taft's people slowly backing down as the tide turned pretty obviously. Finally, there was a knocking sound, made me jump. We all looked up at the head of the table, where the general was rapping on the wood. Make the call, he said. Interested Roy Cohn, Republican from New York. According to Magic Kingdom, America in the 50s by Stutz Terkel. So far, so good. Well, mind you, this is going to be a new play that's called Alternate History Readings. So if you guys want me to do this more, this is on page 1, no doubt. Still got a lot to go, no doubt. I might do this in multiple parts or however long it takes. It was interesting. Ward Kimball leans back in his chair, fingers steepled as he looks to the ceiling as if the memories are playing across its stucco surface. Railroad ephemera surrounded him, along with several more famous creations. By the tone of the man's voice, you'd think he was speaking of a movie he'd seen once, a pleasant song he once heard. Perhaps he'd been playing on the trombone in the corner. Mind you, Ward Kimball, the guy's a legend in the animation world, no doubt. And also in the Outdoor Train series, no doubt. I saw it. I saw him on video. Yeah, I saw him ring the bell on the locomotive. Man, I've seen that a lot. But no, this is Ward Kimball, Walt Disney's famous Nine Old Men animation team, and a witness to a pivotal moment in history. Walt and I were outside the studio. He says, his brow furrowing. He could be a bear at times and sugar sweet at others. I managed to get him on a good day. He was having a cigarette, and we were talking trains. He'd been going on about the ideas for the park for years, and was explaining in detail about he planned to have a train running all the way around it. That's when a messenger popped out of nowhere with a telegram. Walt took it. I said to the boy, I never saw Disney as confused as he was on that day. He read it and scowled. "Walk me to the office, Ward. Someone's playing a damn joke," he said. What could I do? He went to his office. He picked up the phone and asked for a Chicago extension. He talked for a while. I wasn't really listening. Instead, I was glancing at some doodles of Mickey he was doing while he talked. Finally, he looked up at me. I knew that look. I scattered out of the office to the waiting room. He walked out a few minutes later. Never seen the man quite shook up. Walt walked over, shaking his head, and clapped me on the shoulder like he needed me to steady him. "Well, Ward," he said after a bit, "looks like I've got a new job offer." Ward Kimball's Word of Whimsy, Animation Age Magazine, Volume 1, Issue 9. Now this is an excerpt from Walter D. Disney's speech accepting Republican nomination for president. And so, my fellow Americans, I urge us to look neither solely to the future nor the past, but rather to find the best in our own spirit. and to determine with God's good will what we shall take on this distinctly American journey. From the past we have the frontier spirit, from our own minds and hearts. We have the gift of fantasy and imagination to create our own destiny. With these American traits, we shall build a world of tomorrow upon these shores, until every city is a shining example of democracy. Yeah, democracy. That's gonna happen apparently. In a town or community where God-fearing citizens may live in peace and prosperity. Every street, the main street where industrious merchants may sell their wares, unimpeded by the corruption of those who claim to represent their workers or the heavy burdens of an erroneous government. In the eternal struggle for justice and freedom in America towards a more perfect union, we have but one goal that unites us in brotherhood: to make this nation not only great for what great it is, but to create in our land the happiest place on earth. Alright, now, that's Walter D. Disney's acceptance speech. Let's go with Stevenson for the Democrats next. Stevenson grabs Democrat nomination, signs for GOP pick. Chicago. Gathered in the same city where their political rivals met only a few weeks ago, delegates of the Democratic Party listened as their nominee, Governor Adlai Stevenson of Illinois, to the opportunity to denounce the Republican Party for the nomination of famous businessman, artist, and entrepreneur Walter E. Disney as a standard bearer. We stand today at a crucial moment in our nation's history, the nominee stated in the acceptance speech. We face domestic uncertainty as we attempt to secure the rights for Americans as a whole, without trampling upon the rights of Americans as individuals. On foreign shores, a nation claiming the devotion of the rights of the worker instead turns to dreams of an empire. In Korea, our brave soldiers and sailors are fight and die in the name of keeping the world safe for democracy, and not allowing a continent to fall into the madness of a few. At this time, in this moment, the nation cries out for serious leadership. Would our colleagues in the Republican Party nominate? Was the general who could lead us to victory at Bravo and certain domestic security? It was not. Was it a statesman skilled in diplomacy and the workings of Washington? It was not. Was it a man who could not stand atop of the tide of history, guiding us towards greatness? It was not. To the American people I say this. As for wisdom, you were given a glib charm. As for leadership, and you're given a nickel show. As for strength, given a cheap joke. As for a man to represent America, and you're given Mickey Mouse. While Governor Stevenson's speech received a positive response, there have been questions regarding the party's ability to adapt to what many observers call a curveball of candidate. It's from the Associated Press, August 26, 1952. Give me a sec, guys. I gotta turn my computer back on again. Confidential. Animation department to begin work on Pitchcock's shorts featuring Mickey, Donald, and Goofy. Entire stable of characters ASAP. Made the damn mouse and the flag, well, it may not be running the things around here for now. But we're not letting the bastards slam him and Mickey at the same time. Destroy after reading this. Do not redistribute. Royal Disney. Interim member of Disney Corporation, August 52. Further proof of capitalist tendency towards corruption, the political system that can be seen by the American presidential election of 1952. Anti-union businessman Walt Disney ran against Governor Adlai Stevenson of Illinois. After accepting the nomination from a slightly less odious political organization, Stevenson commented that a man known for best creating a cartoon mouse was hardly qualified to lead such a powerful nation. Rather than respond directly to these accusations, Disney exploited his workers to create fascist propaganda. See? Fascism is going to be here in this country, in this timeline no doubt. Which then he placed in every movie theater in the country. Also, his financial influence over the news media was enormous. He leveraged his influence to undermine the independence of the editorial pages across the country, and cited supposedly objective news coverage in a manner favorable to him. University essay by Laura B. recovered from her psychiatric file in 1980 during a class action lawsuit against the government on behalf of hundreds of former college students committed to the asylums under the 60s mental hygiene acts. More on that later. Disney makes an elephant fly. Droopy surges in polls. New York Daily News headline. September 13th, 1952. Hey, 2 days before my birthday, no doubt. I wasn't born in the 50s, thank God. While we wouldn't be loath to accuse Mr. Disney of his influence over the corporation he founded to promote his own candidacy, the recent spate of Disney cartoon shorts from patriotic ideals do come close in the heels of Mr. Stevenson's mockeries of his opponent's credentials. Sacramento Bee editorial, September 15th, 1952. The month of October was the make or break time for the Stevenson campaign, with Walt Disney heading the polls, Vice Presidential candidate Everett Dirksen effectively neutralized many of the experience arguments put forth by the Stevenson campaign. The Democrats decided on a bold strategy. Convinced that Disney's California lead was weaker than the newspapers were predicting, Stevenson made a mad dash on the Golden State, giving speeches during a grim week at the from the 3rd of October to the 10th. Political observers of the time saw this as a useless gesture, a crazy attempt to gain media attention against the more charismatic and folksy opponent. Despite the naysayers, Stevenson's plan seemed to work. While he was still far behind in the rural areas of Central Valley, the conservative Orange County, yet mind you, Orange County is very conservative, strongly anti-communist. Lots of former South Vietnam citizens fled to California, mostly in Orange County, no doubt. Yep, mostly that. Highly representatives at LA and San Francisco flocked out to hear the speeches. Even the conservative LA Times, under the stewardship of the Chandler family, gave grudging acknowledgement of the effectiveness of Stevens' Hail Mary pass. However, the Stevenson campaign didn't account for the effectiveness and adaptability of the Disney organization from the GOP itself. Disney people took all the imagination and marketing genius that they originally dedicated to the benefit of the company and focused it towards the election of the single candidate. When Governor Stevenson returned to California later in the month for another round of campaign stops, it was already too late. Every scheduled camera stop from San Diego to Crescent City was suddenly in competition, with the parade being held on the main streets of towns across the state, promoted by the nuclear Mickey Mouse clubs. Yep, more on that later on, because you never know. May not be used between page 6 and 15. The parades combined all the most attractive features of the carnival, midway, zoo, and day watching Disney cartoons. The Democrats cried foul, to be sure, but more than one Democratic official in the state could be seen guilty of attending these events, dragged by his kids, insisting on a day of fun and frolic over various speeches and hoarse cheers. The local media simply ate it up. Newspapers, radio stations, and TV stations all gave top coverage to the Disney parades, and short shrift to the comparatively dull political news of the day. In this manner, Walt Disney became the first presidential candidate on the day to effectively promote his own candidacy in the state without ever mentioning a word about politics. Not that the implications would be subtle. One of the most iconic photographs of the era was, and obviously, uncomfortable Senator Richard Nixon, smiling giggling at the camera, arms around between two beaming tykes as he wears one of those recent Mickey Mouse hats. The mouse ears, right? Yeah, the Mickey Mouse Club had to wear those things. Thank God my mom wasn't. Well, the Mickey Mouse Club was way back in the 50s, because the rise of TV and everything. Thank God my mom wasn't a Mickey Mouse Musketeer, dude. Because if she was, I swear. Thank God the Mickey Mouse Club is no more anyway. If they revive it, which I bet they won't, I think if it was like a internet series, I'm pretty sure that it was like being more popular than it was in the 50s. An example of unintended success in marketing, the Mickey Mouse Club concept soon spread far beyond the borders of California. Requests came in from children asking how to set their own childhood from Michigan, Ohio, Florida, and every other state and territory in the Union. Soon after that, airmail arrived from Canada, then England, then Germany. Magic Mice and Marks, The Campaign Trail, 1952, Craig Cassidy, 1994. Yeah, I know this is like the first Alternate Readings video, but yeah, I'll start back tomorrow night, or probably tomorrow. It was all very patriotic and solemn when the meeting started. So, yeah. Anyway, guys, hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button for more alternate history readings. Like, comment, and share this video. That's like pretty much the best, I think. Let's get this thing to 10 likes in this thing. And got 400 subscribers to go to 3,000, so hashtag road to 3,000. See you guys later. Bye, people. Peace out.